Okay, so we're diving deep today into what great teachers do differently.
17 Things That Matter Most.
Yeah, by Todd Whitaker.
Right.
And we've got the study guide here with us.
Yeah.
And what really struck me going through this material, it's not just for teachers.
Right.
This is really about leadership and influence in any area of life.
Absolutely.
And so our mission today is to kind of extract those core insights
Yes.
that separate those who are really effective from the rest and offer you
Yeah.
some food for thought no matter what you do.
I think one of the most interesting things as you dive into this material
Yeah.
is that it really does focus on the human element, you know, and moves beyond sort of the allure of
Yeah.
the latest programs or the quick fix.
Right.
And really drills down to the beliefs and the behaviors of those who achieve great things.
It's not about the shiny new tool.
Right.
It's about the person
It is.
wielding it, right?
Absolutely.
So forget thinking that some new system is going to magically transform everything.
Right.
What this material really hits home is that sustainable improvement comes from investing in people.
Yeah,
And so it's about our own growth.
it is.
It's about nurturing the potential of those around us.
Yeah.
And programs, as the study guide points out,
Yeah.
are really neutral frameworks.
It's right.
They hinge on the individuals who bring them to life.
Yeah. Think about it.
Have you ever seen like
Yeah.
a promising initiative
Yeah.
just completely fall flat
Oh, yeah.
because the team wasn't quite on board
Because of the team.
or didn't have the right approach?
Yeah.
It's not just about what's being implemented, whether it's a new project management system or a way of approaching a creative challenge,
Yeah.
but that makes all the difference.
The how.
You've probably seen the same strategy
Oh, yeah.
yield wildly different results
Absolutely.
depending on the enthusiasm,
Yeah.
the skill, and the collaborative spirit of the people involved.
You can picture two teams tackling the same problem with the same resources. One thrives, the other struggles.
Right.
Often, it's not the problem itself
Not the
or
resources.
the tools they're using,
Right.
but the way they interact,
Yes.
their level of commitment,
Right.
their communication.
Yeah.
So let's unpack one of these foundational ideas,
Okay.
this concept of people over programs.
Okay.
The study guide steers us away from this notion
Yeah.
that adopting the latest trend
Right.
is the magic bullet.
And what they talk about is that these programs, whether it's methodology or
Yeah.
technological solutions, even organizational structures,
Yeah.
they aren't good or bad in and of themselves.
Right.
They're only effective
Yeah.
if you've got capable and dedicated people who are putting them into practice.
Right.
A brilliantly designed program can stumble
Oh, yeah.
if the individuals responsible for execution aren't fully invested,
That's right.
or if they don't have the necessary skills. Yeah, you could have
Yeah.
the best laid plan,
Absolutely.
but if no one's on board
Yeah.
or they don't know how to execute,
It's not going to go anywhere.
it falls flat.
Right. Yeah.
So it boils down to how, not just what.
That's right.
And this leads us to another core principle,
Okay.
the power of expectations.
Yeah.
The material advocates for a real shift in emphasis, moving away from simply laying down a list of rules and consequences
Yeah.
towards clearly establishing
Right.
and consistently reinforcing expectations.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, have you found that to be true?
Well, I think that rules focus on what you don't want people to do.
Yeah.
So it almost highlights negative behaviors.
Right.
Whereas expectations, you're giving a clear picture
Yeah.
of what you want.
And the desired behavior.
Yes, and the positive outcomes that you're aiming for.
Right. It's forward-looking and aspirational.
It is.
So you're setting a positive tone right from the get-go.
Right. Think about the difference between don't be late
Right.
and we expect everyone to be on time and prepared.
Exactly. And the guide highlights a drawback of rules. They can inadvertently focus our attention on the negative,
Yeah.
on what we're trying to avoid.
Right.
Expectations flip the script
Right.
and concentrate on what you want to see.
Yes.
And it's not just about setting expectations for others, is it?
No.
What kind of expectations do you set for yourself?
Well, I think effective people, whether they're teachers or leaders,
Yeah.
set high standards for themselves
Right.
as well as for those they guide,
Like
because
you.
they know that their behavior sets a powerful precedent
Yeah.
and they shape the environment.
It's leading by example.
It is.
So setting those expectations right from the beginning
right at the start.
acts as a roadmap for success.
It's
It reduces ambiguity
yeah.
and it fosters a shared understanding of what's important.
It does. Think about when you're on a team and everybody knows their roles and responsibilities.
Exactly.
Things tend to run so much more smoothly.
It makes a world of difference.
It does.
So we've got this focus on people over programs.
Yes.
And this power of expectations. And this next point, say what you mean.
Yes.
This underscores the importance of consistent follow-through.
Yes.
Building respect through reliability.
Right.
Not the volume of our pronouncement.
What about the threats?
Or the severity of threats.
That's right.
Have you ever worked with someone whose word
Oh, yeah.
you knew you could count on?
Many times.
What is it about them that...
Well, they do what they say they're going to do.
Right.
They're consistent.
Right.
And over time, people learn to respect them.
Because they're reliable.
Yes, they mean what they say.
And so their words carry weight.
They do.
Whereas if you're relying on threats
Yeah.
or displays of power,
Yeah.
you might get short-term compliance.
You might.
But it erodes trust.
It does.
And weakens your authority in the long run.
Absolutely. Think about a leader.
Yeah.
Who makes promises and doesn't keep them.
Damages their credibility.
It does.
And this study guide points out these quick fix solutions.
Yeah.
Like resorting to threats
Right.
can create bigger problems
You can.
down the line.
Yeah.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on something.
A temporary fix.
Yeah, and then you've got a bigger structural issue later on.
That's right.
And there's this crucial point made about self-control.
Yes.
Not reacting impulsively.
Right.
Not blurting things out in anger.
Yes.
Waiting to address misbehavior
Yeah.
allows for a more thoughtful approach.
It does. How many times have we all said things in the heat of the moment
Oh, yeah.
that we wish we could take back?
And if you just take that pause,
Yeah. Breathe.
think about it.
Think strategically.
You're going to respond in a much more measured way.
You are.
And as the guide points out, effective management,
Yes.
whether in the classroom or leading a team,
Uh-huh.
is far more about
Class.
than management, just
Right?
management.
Right.
It's about thoughtful, deliberate action
It is.
rather than just knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
Which leads us to another concept,
Okay.
prevention versus revenge.
Okay.
The study guide makes the case that effective teachers,
Yeah.
and by extension, effective leaders,
Right.
prioritize preventing issues from rising in the first place.
Right.
Whereas less effective ones focus on punishment after the fact.
Right.
It's that proactive versus reactive approach.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the focus on prevention is being proactive.
Yeah.
It's anticipating the challenges,
Right.
identifying those points of friction.
Right. And then putting strategies in place
Yes.
to minimize the likelihood of those problems occurring.
That's right.
Whereas revenge,
Is reactive.
yeah, it's after the fact.
Yeah,
And it's often driven by frustration
it is.
rather than a desire for positive change. It's interesting how the guide highlights
Yeah.
that all teachers
Yeah.
and all leaders in any capacity
Right.
have the same toolkit
We do.
for dealing with various situations.
Right.
But the difference is how thoughtfully and intentionally
Yes.
they choose from that toolkit.
That's it.
It's not about having some secret technique.
No.
It's the underlying philosophy
It is.
and intentionality
He's right.
that guides their choices.
And I think people want leaders
Yeah.
to address inappropriate behavior,
Yeah,
but they also want it done in a way
right.
that preserves their dignity
Absolutely.
and treats them with respect.
Yeah.
So it's really about maintaining a positive and fair approach,
Yeah.
even when you're addressing those negative behaviors.
So thinking about your own experience, do you
Yeah.
naturally focus on preventing problems
Yeah,
or reacting to them?
good question.
And I think the difference in those long-term outcomes
Oh, it's huge.
can be huge.
Yeah.
So we've talked about setting expectations for others.
Yes.
But what about the expectations we
Right.
hold for ourselves?
Yeah.
The study guide dedicates a section to this.
Yeah.
Great teachers, and I think this extends to any field, hold high expectations for themselves.
They do.
They're constantly pushing themselves to learn to grow,
Yes.
to improve their practice.
And I think they're never content to rest on their laurels.
Right.
They're always trying to get better.
Right. They see themselves
Yeah.
as a work in progress.
Yes. Always reflecting.
Right.
Always trying to learn new things.
So when things don't go according to plan,
Yeah.
their first instinct isn't to point fingers.
It's to look inward.
It's to say, what could I have done differently?
Exactly.
It's that emphasis on personal responsibility.
Yes.
They don't say the team wasn't good enough
Right.
or the market conditions were unfavorable
I didn't have enough resources.
or I didn't have the resources.
Yeah.
They see themselves as the primary variable
Right.
in achieving the outcome.
Yeah, I'm responsible.
It's similar to a business leader
Yes.
who takes ownership of their team's performance,
Both the good and the bad.
the successes and the failures.
Yes.
So how do you approach taking responsibility?
Well, I think it's about recognizing that you have control
Yeah.
over your own actions,
Right.
your responses,
Yeah.
and your level of preparation.
So focus on what you can influence.
Absolutely.
Your skill development,
Right.
your communication,
Yes.
the environment that you create.
And when things don't go exactly as planned,
Yeah.
where do you find yourself putting the responsibility?
Yeah, where's the blame going?
Right.
Is it internal? Is it external?
Is it on me or is it on somebody else?
And this material really encourages
It does.
self-reflection in that regard.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift to putting people first.
Okay.
The study guide outlines these different visions
Yeah.
that teachers might hold.
Right.
The Superstar focuses on the whole school system,
Right.
the big picture.
The backbone is primarily concerned with their classroom,
Yeah.
and then the mirror is mostly self-focused.
Self-focused.
And it makes the argument that great teachers
Yeah.
tend to have that broader vision.
Mm-hmm.
They're always considering the impact of their actions on a wider circle of people.
On others, yes.
So they're looking beyond just their own immediate concerns
Yeah, they are.
and thinking about the bigger picture,
Yeah.
how their actions affect everyone.
And they're also not complaining all the time
Right.
because negativity is contagious
It is.
and it makes things so much harder for everybody.
So really, when you put people first,
Yeah.
it has a profound impact
It does.
on the overall dynamic.
It changes how you make decisions,
Yeah.
how you interact with people,
Yeah.
the kind of environment that you cultivate.
Think about a leader
Yeah.
who consistently demonstrates care and concern
Right.
for their team members.
Yeah.
They're going to foster a much more
Yeah.
positive.
Collaborative and productive atmosphere.
Absolutely.
So how does focusing on the needs of others
Yeah.
influence your decisions and interactions?
That's a good question.
Now, this next section, 10 days out of 10,
I like that.
it's all about creating a positive atmosphere,
Yeah.
treating every single person you encounter
Right.
with dignity and respect,
Every day.
day in and day out.
Yes.
Why is that consistency so important?
Well, I think it creates a stable and respectful environment for everyone.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how you're feeling
Right.
or if you're frustrated,
Right.
you treat every person
Right.
with dignity and respect.
And the guide makes this point
Uh-huh.
that individuals might recall positive experiences,
Yeah.
but they will definitely remember
Yes.
times they were treated disrespectfully or unfairly,
Absolutely.
even if it was just one incident.
Right.
Those negative experiences
Yeah.
can have a lasting impact.
They can.
Can you think of a time
Oh,
when
yeah.
you were treated unfairly?
Of course.
And how did that affect you?
Well, you remember it.
Yeah, it sticks with you.
And it can really damage your trust
Right.
with that person.
So it really speaks to
Yeah.
the profound effect our actions have on others.
Our words and our actions.
And it underscores this need
Yeah.
to strive for consistently respectful treatment.
Right.
Now, this section also talks about the power of praise
It does.
and how, for it to be effective,
Right.
it needs to be authentic,
Right.
specific to the behavior or accomplishment,
Right.
delivered
Yep.
promptly.
Immediately.
Clean meaning it's focused solely on their effort
Yes.
and often delivered in private.
Yes.
So authentic, specific, immediate, clean, and private.
I like that.
And the guide also tackles some common misconceptions about praise.
Uh-huh.
This belief that you don't have time for it,
Right.
or that it might lead to complacency.
Right. Or that we're creating little monsters who
Ah.
need to be praised all the time.
So what are your thoughts on those?
I think those are excuses
Yeah.
for not giving praise.
Right, it's easy to say,
It is.
oh, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, or they'll get a big head
Yeah.
if I praise them too much.
But when you think about a time when you received praise
Mm,
that really resonated with you,
right.
how did that make you feel?
Well, it made me feel good.
Yeah.
It made me feel like my work was appreciated.
And chances are
Yeah.
it was genuine. You understood
Yes.
what you were being recognized for,
Huh.
and it made you feel valued.
Yes.
Those moments really stick with us.
They do.
Okay, be the filter.
Okay.
This is about teachers and really anyone in a leadership role,
Right.
modeling appropriate behavior
Yes.
and setting a positive tone,
Yeah. Be the filter.
because your attitude really shapes the atmosphere.
It does.
So if you come in,
Yeah.
you're grumpy
Right.
and complaining,
people are going to mirror that.
People pick up on that.
Yes.
And it spreads like wildfire.
It does. Negativity is contagious.
So it's about making a conscious effort
It is.
to focus on the rewards and the challenges
Right.
in a constructive and optimistic way,
Yes.
rather than dwelling on the complaints
That's right.
and the perceived shortcomings.
Look for the good.
Look for the good. And I think it's also about
Yeah.
keeping our personal issues
Yeah.
and our school-related frustration
Yes.
in their proper place,
Right.
not involving others,
In things that are inappropriate for them.
especially those you lead,
Absolutely.
in topics that are
Right.
not really any of their business.
Right.
Because our own perceptions and
Yeah.
attitudes
Yes.
really shape the reality of our environment.
They do. They shape how we see people.
Have you noticed how a leader's outlook can really affect the morale of a team?
Absolutely.
If they're negative
Yeah.
and pessimistic,
The team is going to reflect that.
it trickles down.
It does.
But if they're positive
Yeah.
and encouraging,
It lifts everybody up.
it can really boost morale and productivity.
I-
So how can you filter negativity in your own environment?
It's a challenge.
It is a challenge.
Because you got to be really conscious of
Yeah.
what you're putting out there.
Right.
You have to be intentional.
And you have to realize
Yeah.
that you're not just influencing yourself,
Right.
you're influencing everyone around you.
Absolutely.
So don't need to repair. Always do a repair.
Okay.
This idea highlights the fact that damaged relationships
Right.
can be incredibly difficult,
They can.
if not impossible to fully recover.
Yes.
So the best approach
Yeah.
is to proactively
Maintain those relationships?
invest in maintaining them from the outset.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think when it comes to relationships,
Yeah.
an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
So the best leaders
Yeah.
understand the importance
Yeah.
of continuous relationship maintenance.
So they're always working
They are.
to build those connections.
Yes, even when there's no conflict. They're still nurturing those relationships.
So it's about building that reservoir of goodwill
It is.
so that when there is a conflict,
Yeah.
you have that foundation of trust to draw upon.
Right.
And the guide points out this simple act
Mm.
of saying, I am so sorry that happened.
Yeah.
It can really diffuse tension
It can.
and begin that process of repair.
Right.
It's not necessarily about admitting fault,
No.
but it's about acknowledging the other person's experience
Right.
and showing empathy.
Absolutely.
And there's also this emphasis
Yeah.
on teaching and practicing
Right.
positive repair behaviors
Yes.
rather than letting things escalate.
Into big conflict.
Right. So how important is it to model those repair behaviors?
Well, I think it shows people
Right.
that you're committed to the relationship
Right.
and that you value their well-being.
Yeah.
And that you're willing to do the work
To make things right.
to make things right.
And the effort that you invest
Yeah.
is noticed and appreciated.
It is.
So how do you proactively maintain
Yeah.
and repair relationships
That's the question.
in your own life?
Yeah.
Okay. The ability to ignore.
I like this one.
Now, this isn't suggesting that we should be oblivious to what's going on around us,
Right.
but it's about knowing when to address something immediately
Right.
and when to wait for a more teachable moment.
Yeah.
It's about modeling self-control.
It is.
So what are the benefits of strategically choosing what to ignore?
Well, sometimes if you ignore something,
Yeah.
it'll go away.
It might just resolve itself,
For
or
sure.
it wasn't really that big of a deal in the first place.
Right. And so you're modeling self-control.
Yeah. You're not getting
Yeah.
hooked into every little thing.
Yes.
It's about choosing your battles.
Yes. Pick your battles.
And focusing on the things that really matter.
And I think it's also about recognizing
Yeah.
that sometimes people need space.
Yes, to figure things out on their own.
Yes.
So it's about striking that balance
It is.
between being aware and responsive,
Uh-huh.
but also knowing when to step back.
And that takes discernment.
It does.
Yeah.
So how do you decide
Yeah.
what deserves your immediate attention
Right. What can I let go of?
and what can be overlooked,
Yeah.
at least temporarily?
Right.
Random or plandom?
Plandom.
This principle emphasizes
Yeah.
that great teachers
Right.
approach everything
They do.
with a plan and a purpose.
A plan and a purpose.
They're constantly reflecting
They are.
and adjusting.
Yes.
So why is that intentionality so important?
Well, it's about being proactive
Yeah.
rather than reactive.
Not just letting things happen,
That's right.
but actually shaping,
Happen.
creating. So they
Yeah.
structure their environment.
Right.
They anticipate challenges.
Yeah.
And they put strategies in place to address those challenges.
That's right.
They take responsibility
Yeah.
for the outcomes.
Yes.
and they plan for success.
That's right.
So it's not about blaming external factors.
No, it's on me.
Right.
I'm responsible.
Yeah, it's that mindset of ownership
It is.
and a commitment to preparation.
That's right.
So it's about structuring the learning or working environment.
Yes.
Whether it's the physical setup,
You set up.
the methods you're using,
Yeah.
the allocation of time and resources
Right.
to create those conditions
Right.
that are most conducive
Yeah.
to achieving the desired outcome.
That's right.
And it's not just about having that initial plan.
No.
It's about reflecting
Reflect
on what's working and what's not working
and then adjusting.
and being willing to make adjustments.
That's right.
So how often do you intentionally reflect?
Well, hopefully
Yeah.
all the time.
Right. It should be an ongoing process.
Yeah.
That's just a one-time thing.
Continuous improvement.
Right.
Yeah.
And this principle also touches on not teaching to the middle,
Right.
not aiming for the average,
Yes.
but considering what the best students need and adjusting your approach
Right.
to meet those higher needs.
Which then helps everybody.
And that often benefits everyone.
It does.
So how intentional are you
Right.
in your planning
Yeah.
and decision-making?
That's a great question.
Okay, this next principle is about fairness and empathy.
Oh.
In every situation, ask who is most comfortable and who is least comfortable.
I like that.
This encourages us to avoid implementing those broad stroke solutions
Right.
or punishments
Yeah.
in response to the actions of just a few.
And to really think about how your decisions are
Yeah.
impacting everyone.
Right.
And especially those who are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to punish everybody.
Right.
Because a couple of people are messing up.
It's about recognizing
Yeah.
that not everyone's coming at it
Right.
from the same place.
And you want to make sure
Yeah.
that you're treating everyone fairly.
And that you're reinforcing
Yes.
positive behaviors.
And you're creating an environment where everyone feels safe and respected.
Yeah. You don't want your top performers to
Mm.
feel like they're being punished
Right.
for something that they didn't do.
Absolutely.
It's about being sensitive
Yes.
to how your actions might be perceived
Mhm.
by different people.
Right.
You know, if you have a blanket punishment
Right.
for the whole team,
Because a couple of people messed up.
it's going to breed resentment
It is.
among those who are already doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
So it's about making sure
It is.
that those who are striving to do well
Right.
feel appreciated
Yeah.
and acknowledged.
That's right.
So when you're making a decision